Hey everyone, Ryan here at etrailer. Today on our 2019 Ford Edge Titanium, we're going to be showing you how to install the Curt custom fit vehicle wiring harness. But before we do that, let's take a minute, check it out and make sure it's going to work for you. So what this kit is going to do is allow you to plug into your trailer and send all the lighting signals to your trailer. That way you're safe and legal. You'll get your turn signals, your brake lights, as well as your tail lights, so you have all your bases covered there. And one of the really nice things with this setup is the fact that it is custom fit. And it's going to be designed to work with the titanium submodel only. So if you happen to have a different submodel, not a huge deal. There's custom fit kits available for those as well, but this is going to be the only custom fit kit for the titanium. And that sure beats having a universal type wiring kit where you got to chop into wires and do some splicing and everything else. This one utilizes the taillight connections where it plugs in and you don't have to worry about doing any of that type of thing. This is a 4-way flat type connector. Pretty common for the types of trailers that the Edge is likely to be pulling around. A lot of these smaller and medium sized trailers. And as far as getting this mounted up, you can do a couple of different things. What we're doing today is just putting it through the safety chain opening and putting the cap on to hold it in place. I don't think it looks bad at all with this setup. You can see a little bit of wire there, but not a huge deal. If you wanted to, which it's entirely up to you, you could always pick up some wire loom, maybe a couple foot of it, put it over and help it blend in a little bit more. Or you can always use a bracket and have it more in a fixed position or mounted position. A lot of times you're able to use a no-drill long bracket, which clamps around the hitch. Then a 4-way flat bracket will connect to that, and this will push through the bracket and keep it in position. So when it comes down to it, if you have an Edge Titanium and you're trying to pull a trailer around, it's going to be your best bet to get all the lights to work. As far as the installation goes, it's not really complicated per se, but it's definitely time consuming. Everything's kind of tight on this vehicle and you have to route the wires and whatnot, but thankfully, majority of it's plug and play, so you don't have to splice into your factory wiring, and you're going to have to run a power wire from the back to the front to hook up to the battery. So that takes a little time, but something you do one time, and then your wiring will work from there on out. But if you're going to be doing this yourself, feel free to hang around. We'll go ahead and get started on it now. To begin our installation, we're going to be working here at the back of our Edge, and we need to get our tail lights removed. So go ahead and open up the hatch. We're going to have a small panel on the inside that we can pop free. Just take a small flathead screwdriver or even a pick, just pry underneath of it, pop it free. It's kind of just snapped in place there, and then that will expose inside of there a fastener that we can remove with a T25 wood spit. It's still held in place. There's an alignment tab back here that's holding it in. I put some painter's tape around the edge just so we don't scratch anything. When you're doing this, be really careful because these tail lights are known to break or crack. Right here on this back edge, it's pretty thin. So you can work it side to side a little bit. You don't want to get too carried away. You can use a trim tool like this too to give you a little more leverage. Just be careful, especially if it's cold outside. But what I found, kind of take the palm of your hand and work it back. That usually gets them to release. So that's that pin that I was talking about. That's pressed in there. We can get it disconnected now. So the electrical connector is right there. Push down on the center of that tab. And while you're pushing down, you can release it. We'll set our light off to the side, do the same thing to get the passenger one removed. To give us some more room to work, because everything's super tight in here, where this corner is on our fascia, there's a fastener kind of buried down there a little bit, holding this in place. And you want to just firmly grab this and pop it out. That's really all you need to go. You don't really need to go any further. That'll give us more room at least to route wiring and everything. Do this to the passenger side as well. Grab a fish wire. I'm just using a piece of tubing. You can use a metal coat hanger if you straighten it out, a thick piece of wire, kind of whatever you got. And what we're going to do is take this and feed it from the top down. What we're trying to achieve is to get this to come out from the bottom. That way we can tape some wiring to it and be able to pull it up into place. I'm just going to push this down a little ways. Do it on the passenger side too. And we can go underneath and try to locate it. We're going to have a panel on the side that's kind of blocking what we can see. So we'll remove it. The outside edge, we're going to have two 5.5 millimeter fasteners. I'll pull them out. I have two more tucked up in here a little bit. Those are 10 millimeter head nuts. Pull them off. You should be able to lower the panel down, set it off to the side, do the same thing on the passenger side of our vehicle. With that panel down, I was able to just reach up and grab our pull wire. Then you can take your new trailer wiring and the T-connector in that has the red, yellow, and brown wires. You want to tape them to your pull wire, and you want to try to get them nice and tight because you don't have a whole lot of room to get this through there. So we'll go back up top and pull it into place. Pull this back, you can kind of see a lot better and guide the wiring up into position. And once we have it, we'll get all our tape off and get the fish wire out of the way. Our T-connector now, we can grab our tail light. The connector ends will match up, plug it into there. The other one will plug into the factory connector. And we can reinstall the light the opposite way that we removed it. If you're having a hard time getting the tail light back in just because all the extra wiring connectors are in the way, the factory one is push pinned into a piece of plastic like that. And if you go in there with a trim tool or a flathead screwdriver or something and pry it free, that'll allow you to kind of push those down in there further and give you more space to reinstall the tail light without any interference. Back underneath the vehicle on the driver's side, we can route our 4-way flat wiring as well as the single green T-connector wire. So these, I just pushed it through our bumper beam attachment there. That's where it comes out. And this is just all loosely routed for now. I like to have everything hooked up before I come back and zip tie everything and secure it. When you're routing any wiring, for that matter, do your best to avoid any hot or moving parts. But the wires continue. The 4-way flat drops down, and I just have that connected to the safety chain opening there on our trailer hitch. And the green wire is just going to continue along. There it comes out on the side here. And I taped it to our pull wire just like we did on the driver's side. Got everything plugged in, and we'll get this light reinstalled as well. Back underneath our Ford, we can get our power wire hooked up. So the black wire coming right out of the box, that's going to be the power wire. And these are pre-stripped right out of the box, and so you can take a butt connector and place it over the bare end. Now I'm upgrading to a heat shrink style butt connector because the ends seal up and just help protect against corrosion a little bit better. But the ones that come in the kit will work just fine. I just suggest taking electrical tape and taping them up. It'll help keep them protected. But slide that over the bare end, and this is how all of our connections are going to be made, whether it's a butt connector or a ring terminal. You crimp it down, and then you can grab one end of the big bundle power wire that they give you, And this end you will have to strip back. Just get the insulation off to expose the wiring underneath and give it a twist. Make sure they're tight. And just place it into the other end of the butt connector. Crimp it down. And since I'm using these heat shrinks, I'll come back with a heat gun and seal up the ends. Taped up our electrical connection for a little extra protection. And now we can mount up our converter box here. So I clean off the surface really good with some rubbing alcohol, let it dry. You also want to do that to the surface you're going to mount this to. And that's because I'm going to use this included two-sided sticky tape. Here's where I secured our box. Just stuck it to the piece of metal that's hanging down there. And for good measure, there's a hole in the box and a hole in that piece of metal. I just used a zip tie for a little extra security. So I've went ahead and secured our ground wire. It's just so tight up here, it's almost easier just to show you afterwards. But it's a white wire coming out of the box. It has a pre-attached ring terminal, and that needs to get connected to a clean piece of metal. So I just use this flange that drops down here, and I use the provided self-tapping screw to run it down and get it tight. So I went ahead and reinstalled our underbody panel, opposite way that we removed it. And now we can get our power wire routed up into the engine compartment. So you can see it there where it's coming out from our panel. And I just ran it up along through here, up and over our subframe. See a little piece of it there. And just kind of along through this opening where it comes around. And this is where it's dropping down. And if you have this underbody panel, there's just a couple of 10mm head screws that you can pull off to make it a little easier. And I just followed our factory lines here, using some zip ties along the way. And it goes up into the engine compartment. And the way I was able to get it up there is just like how we did with our tail lights. I used a fish wire. Dropped it down from the top, taped a wire to it, pulled it up in place. In the engine compartment, this is where our power wire came up, and cut it to length, then attached it to the included butt connector, the included fuse holder, using a butt connector. Other end, crimped on a ring terminal. And make sure the fuse is not installed just yet. We're going to hook it up to power first. So we have this nut here. Move it with a 10mm. Slide our ring terminal over it. Get that nut reinstalled. We'll tighten back down. Then we'll take the included fuse, place that into the holder, we'll close up the cap, and I'll come back to you with some electrical tape and tape that up as well. It's a good idea to test our wiring now to make sure that it's working properly. So I like to use a tester like this as opposed to just plugging into a trailer. I say it because if the trailer has any issues, it might mislead you and thinking it's something you did on the vehicle side. But with that in mind, we'll try our left turn, our right turn. We'll hit our brakes and turn on our running lights. Since we verified everything is working properly, that will finish up our look at and our installation of the Curt custom fit vehicle wiring on our 2019 Ford Edge Titanium.